PS4, played it for maybe an hour, and then heard it was coming to Vita and just stopped playing completely.
I played enough for Darkest Dungeon, like I just couldn't help myself. I got like a little ways in, like I'd built up like maybe... Govinda, are you very familiar with this game?
You have told me about this a few times. You have... there's like a corruption you get. And,
yep, there's sanity. You have like a sanity meter.
And then every so often you'll turn into a super mega hero, as I like to call it.
More often than not, you'll have a negative effect, but there is a chance that something positive will happen. But it's just kind of like oppressive. It's like just a side-scroller, 2D.
I'm down with that. Roguelikes are good. I'm a fan.
The art style's awesome. It's super deep. I barely scratched the surface, and all I could think of was, this is the Vita game. Like, this is... Because there's so much here, there's so much content.
Do you know how much it is? Just randomly.
I'm going to speculate like I do.
Oh, we love speculating.
I think I got it on a Steam sale for really cheap. I want to say it'll be like 30 Australian.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'm going to be wrong about that.
Imagine if you're right. That'd be like a first.
I have inside knowledge. Do you have any games you're looking forward to, Richard?
So Tomb Raider was the kind of the main one, I think. I think that's my big one. Obviously, Persona 5 on PS4. I think that's I think that's again an obvious one. So I think those are the main two. Actually, Uncharted 4 as well. So Uncharted, Tomb Raider, and Persona 5 are my big ones at the moment. I would say. Obviously, Brut-l, obviously.
Oh yeah, obviously.
Obviously, number one. But yeah, so I think those are the three that I'm really excited for personally.
We're going to talk about Brut-l quite a bit right now.
What a segue, actually.
Yeah, that was actually...
It's like you've done this before.
It was perfect.
Thank you.
Couldn't have set it up better ourselves. Okay, so Richard, in your own words, what is Brut-l?
So Brut-l is a ASCII roguelike. So by that I mean, roguelikes started off as these sort of ASCII titles, these top-down sort of ASCII titles, and what that was characters on a keyboard, shapes, the @ symbol, brackets, hash keys, and basically it was quite primitive in many ways, but games were back in those days. And what we've done with Brut-l is we wanted to make a roguelike that sort of took some of the style and the mechanics of older titles, but combined it with sort of the gameplay of games that you're used to now. So you mentioned roguelikes earlier on. Obviously, that's a fantastic title. So was Hotline Miami. And I was just trying to combine the modern sort of polished gameplay with that sort of sense of wonder and exploration that you had in these old roguelikes. So we've created it's fully 3D, and basically everything is made from ASCII. So the example I always give is you've got a shield in the game for your character, and that is made of 2 brackets and an @ symbol in the middle. You've got a sword, for example, which could be made from a T for the hilt and then 5 V's for the blade. And it's just a very sort of unique looking game that I think it's one of those games that when I first heard about it, I came onto the project around the alpha stage, just before alpha. And I remember I've been told, it's just ASCII roguelike, and I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, I know what ASCII is and what roguelike is, but combined, I am completely lost. And I think I'm so glad there's a trailer out there now, because that explains it way better than I am probably right now.
For sure.
I'll be honest. That was a sneaky question. I didn't even know how to pronounce ASCII. I tried to do some research on my own.
Yeah, I think we might be just a smidge too young for ASCII, so we're glad you explained this to us, because we had no idea.
Right, cool, yeah.
We understood the @ symbols and stuff, we just didn't understand the lineage of it.
Right, cool, yeah.
You mentioned roguelikes like Hotline Miami and stuff. Was there any other games that, like more modern games you guys looked at that kind of inspired it?
I think initially it started off with the classics. So games like Rogue and Brogue and NetHack. These were, to kind of give us some history on them, these were roguelikes where you spawned in and you had to kind of use the D-pad or the WASD keys, if you will, to move around. And it was all very simplistic and basic, but back then you were sort of thinking to yourself, wow, I'm in this world, this is amazing. You kind of Tron-esque, if you will. You kind of felt like you were in the computer doing this sort of stuff. So mechanic-wise, we've taken a lot from that in regards to the random elements, the generation, the potion system. But then obviously we have played newer titles like Rogue Legacy and Hotline Miami, actually Volume quite recently, to try and make sure that the gameplay and the feel of it kind of matched up. But I wouldn't say we've taken anything particularly from one title. I think we've more looked at these games for just making sure that our quality is there. I think Rogue Legacy was really, really hard as a game, but it felt really good on Vita especially. It just felt kind of natural. There was no sort of, oh, how is this control? You kind of just picked it up and played, and it was all very simple to understand, but there's a lot of depth there as well.
Yeah.
So for us, we looked at more of those games for that versus actual mechanics, if that makes sense.
They're easy to understand, hard to master sort of situation.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned randomness. Does Brutal feature randomly generated floors, or are the floors all predetermined?
No, it's all random. So when you start a new dungeon run, as we call it, everything is randomized there and then. So that goes for all the levels. So there's 26 levels in Brutal, 26 dungeon floors, and the aim is to get from dungeon floor 1 down to 26. And they're all randomized. Enemies you face on them are randomized. There's weapon crafting in the game. So you will find these codexes, these blueprints for weapons, and to make them, you need to find the letters. So again, my example is, for a sword, you might need to find a T for the hilt and then 5 V's for the blade.
Oh, wow.
So you collect these letters in the world, and then you'll kind of fuse them together to make your weapon. But the weapons you find are randomized. So you might find a sword on level 1, but then an axe on level 5, for example. There's also potion crafting in the game. So you'll find these ingredients throughout the world in empty potion bottles. And you've no idea what they are, so you'll kind of combine them together to make these unknown potions. And the only way to figure out what they are is to drink them yourself or throw them at enemies. So obviously, if you drink it, it might be inferno, so you might go on fire, it might be poison, so you can damage yourself. But you might throw at an enemy, and it might be health, and they might get stronger. So it's kind of a risk-reward strategy there.
Yeah,
and both of them with...
do you... Once you've used them once and you understand what they do you kind of keep that in a log of some sort so you can go back to it?
You do exactly. But only on that one playthrough. So on the next playthrough, we'll randomize it. So green might be health on playthrough 1, but if you die and start again, green might be poison. So it always changes. So you're never quite mastering the system.
Oh wow!
So there's always that element of randomness to the game, which hopefully keeps it quite fresh.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
We're really pumped for Brutal.
Yeah, I have to say the PSX demo was very striking. Like it just looked like nothing else.
Govinda and I watched you've been releasing videos, a little bit of gameplay for different characters.
So I think we've seen the mage and the
ranger.
Ranger, yes.
We actually just watched the mage before recording.
Nice.
I was just wondering if you could tell us a little about each of the characters and how they play, and also, as a bonus question, do you have a favourite?
Yeah, of course, Ian. So, the one thing I would say is for PSX, we did a trailer to kind of announce the game, and I'd sort of recommend your listeners watch that trailer, because I think that shows the game better than I can describe it right now. I think just watching it is such a different experience. And I think that's one of the struggles with the game, is trying to explain it with words. I think you get the idea it's a roguelike. It's got this kind of unique sort of ASCII or Tron-esque style, which make it stand out. But I would recommend you watch the trailer. On the characters themselves, so we've got 4 characters you can choose from. We've got the warrior, the Amazon, the mage, and the ranger. They're each slightly different. So we've got a skill system in the game. So everything you destroy, all the kind of the props, the stools, tables, light sources, everything you destroy in the game gives you XP. When you kill enemies, you get XP. When you complete a level, you get XP. And you can use it to gain skills in the game. When you start off, you've got 3 skills per character, and they're quite different. So the warrior starts off, he's a stronger character. He can do more damage with his fists. He's got more health, but he's also a little bit slower, kind of that typical kind of tanky
yeah.
kind of big, strong, bulky warrior character. The ranger and the Amazon, they're quite similar. They do less damage, but they're more mobile, so they can get in and out of fights a lot faster. The ranger uses fists for combat as well, so you need to get a little bit closer to deal damage. but the Amazon uses kicks, so she can kind of jump towards an enemy, kick them, and jump back again. So you kind of got that. You still need to get in a little bit close, but you don't be in as close as the warrior and the ranger. And the mage is quite different. He has lower health. He's got the lowest health of all 4 characters, but he can deal magic. So he's got a magic staff. He can shoot magic bolts from. Now he does have mana, so you need to make sure you're not using too much magic at once, because once you use it all, it needs to recharge over time. So you need to kind of then use your fists, which you can still do, or you can later on get a weapon. But so each character has kind of like unique traits, so to speak. But the one thing that we want to make sure is that if you want to go the mage, let's say, but you want to have a massive axe for good reason, why not? Axes are cool. You can do that. So you will always. So you will kill enemies, destroy things, level up, get skill points, and you can spend them anything you want. So you could be a mage that has got this sort of long range magic ability, but you can specialize in also using axes or swords or bows, so you can kind of have a follow up a bit of damage, and vice versa. You could be a ranger who focuses on using bows and uses archery, but also learn some magic, so you can have that additional sort of arsenal to your skills. So you can kind of play how you want, or you could just be the typical warrior, maximize your strength, focusing on one weapon, and just kind of brute force your way through the game. So there are options there that you can use. Now obviously with the game being random, you might not find that axe until level 5. You will find one, and we do have tiers of weapons. So you get the tier 1 weapon of the sword, the warhammers, the bows, and then the pikes. They do less damage. But you will find tiers, tier 2 and tier 3 later on, which do more damage. You can also enchant your weapons, which I didn't mention earlier on. So you might find a sword that's a basic sword for now, but if you find the enchanted letters, so you might find again the V for the blade, it's a fire V. You can make your weapon a fire weapon and do fire damage to enemies as well. So skill-wise, you can kind of do anything you want with those characters, which I think is really cool. My personal favorite is the Ranger. I almost don't even know why. I think he looks quite cool. He kind of gives me that Legolas vibe from Lord of the Rings, which you either like or you don't like.
It's very important.
He's kind of fast. It is very important. He's quite fast. His health's okay. He's kind of like that character is kind of the middle of the road. He can do a little bit of everything. And I think he's quite good personally. But when I first joined the company, I played a lot of the warrior because he was, a lot of strength, did a lot of damage, so I didn't die very much with him.
Yeah. Is that would you recommend him for newbies?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he does more damage, and I think he's got more health, so he's definitely an easier character to learn the ropes with. But as I said, if you focus in on gaining XP, you can level up your other characters quite quickly. We do kind of have a divide in the office where you can, if you take the time to destroy everything on a level, fully explore it, you'll obviously have more stuff. You'll have more ingredients, you'll have more weapons, you'll have more sort of XP, and if you can level up more. But obviously that's a risk because you might go into a room with a lot of different enemies and you might get beat down from that. Or you could just speedrun the game if you want. So I tend to speedrun it when I can. And that's difficult because later on you're much weaker, but you get to the later levels much faster. So there's different options for players.
Yeah, you mentioned starting off with 3 different skills, and then you can kind of cater it to how you like to play. Can you talk us through is there a skill tree or the level progression system you've got in the game?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I mean, it's a standard skill tree. So you've got 4 different trees you can move between. You've got your crafting abilities. You've then got your kind of weapon abilities. You've then got special abilities. So every weapon you've got standard attacks that you can use. Just your standard hit attacks. Yep. But then you also have special abilities. So for example, with the long swords, you can actually spin them around in a circle around you, so you can deal area damage to anyone. So if you've got multiple enemies all kind of converging in on you, you can use this ability and kind of spin around their circle and damage all of them at once. Room. Exactly. I mean, that isn't a cooldown, but again, you can level that cooldown up. You can have more charges to use, and then you've got the magic abilities as well. So skills are learned through experience. You destroy items in the world, you kill enemies, gain experience, and then choose what you think is best to put your skill points into.
Yeah, that sounds rad, actually.